Today we discuss about the testing concept in Laravel. In this we are having main topics like introduction, environment, creating tests, running tests, and apart from this we are having subtopics like running tests in parallel, reporting test coverage, profiling tests. So all these are main topics and subtopics in testing concept in Laravel. Let's see one by one. So introduction. Laravel uses either PEST or PHP unit in order to test, and by default applications tests directory contains two directories, feature and unit. Unit tests are tests that focus on a very small isolated portion of our code. Feature tests may test a larger portion of our code, including how several objects interact with each other, or even a full HTTP request to a JSON endpoint. So now we see environment. So when running tests, Laravel will automatically set the configuration environment to testing because of the environment variables defined in the PHP unit.xml file. Laravel also automatically configures the session and cache to the array driver so that no session or cache data will be persisted by testing. The .env.testing environment file. So we may create a .env.testing file in the root of our project. So this file will be used instead of the .env file when running PEST and PHP unit tests or executing artisan commands with the --env equal to testing option. Also, we make sure to clear our configuration cache using the config::clear artisan command before running our tests. Creating the tests. So to create a unit test case, use the make::test artisan command. By default, tests will be placed in the test/feature directory. So PHP artisan make::test user test. So if you would like to create a test within the test/unit directory, so we may use the --unit option when executing the make::test command. Once the test has been generated, so we may define test as our normally using PEST or PHP unit. To run tests, execute vendor bin pest or vendor/bin or PHP unit or PHP artisan test command from our terminal. So the namespace is tests/unit, and also we can use class like a PHP unit/framework/test case. The example test class. So class example test extends test case, and within that public function test_basic_test :void $this assert true of true. So like this we will be using basic test class. Running tests. So once we have written tests, we may run them using PEST or PHP unit, and also we can use PHP artisan test command. Any arguments that can be passed to the PEST or PHP unit commands may also be passed to the artisan test command. So like PHP artisan test --test suite equal to feature --stop on failure. So like this we will be using commands with the arguments. running tests in parallel. So we use a command called php artisan test hyphen parallel. So before that we have to install package called Brianium. So the command is a composer require Brianium slash paratest hyphen dev. By default, Laravel will create as many processes as there are available CPU cores on our machine. So we may adjust the number of processes using the hyphen processes option. So php artisan test hyphen parallel hyphen processes equal to 4. When running tests in parallel, some pest or PHP unit options such as hyphen do not cache result may not be available. So parallel testing and databases. We use command php artisan test hyphen parallel hyphen recreate databases option. So this is the command we use when we test databases parallelly. Parallel testing hooks. So we may need to prepare certain resources used by our application tests, so they may be safely used by multiple test processes. So parallel testing package may specify code to be executed on the setup and tear down of a process or test case. So the given closures receive the $token and the $test case variables that contain the process token and the current test case respectively. So like this we will be having $token and $test case properties. Accessing the parallel testing token. So we will be using token method. $token equal to parallel testing scope resolution operator token method. So like this we will be using parallel testing package. Using the parallel testing package, we may specify code to be executed on the setup and tear down of a process or test case. Reporting the test coverage. So php artisan test hyphen coverage command is used. So when running our application tests, we may want to determine whether our test cases are actually covering the application code and how much application code is used when running our tests. To accomplish this, so we may provide the hyphen coverage option to the php artisan test command. Enforcing a minimum coverage threshold. So php artisan test hyphen coverage hyphen min equal to 80.3. Like this we will be enforcing a minimum coverage threshold. Profiling tests. The artisan test runner also includes a convenient mechanism for listing our application's slowest tests. So if we invoke the test command with the hyphen profile option, so to be presented with the list of our 10 slowest tests, allowing us to easily investigate which tests can be improved to speed up our test suite. So like this we will be using php artisan test hyphen profile command. So this is all about testing concept in Laravel. So we are having command php artisan make : test and the test case, whatever the class name we can give, and for example user test. And if you want to provide unit option, unit test cases hyphen unit, and php artisan test command in order to run the tests all the tests in the Laravel application. Also we can use vendor bin php unit or vendor bin test commands also we can use, and in order to provide arguments php artisan test hyphen test set equal to feature hyphen stop on failure. So like this we'll be providing different options, and to run parallelly php artisan test hyphen parallel, and we can mention the number of processes by making use of command php artisan test hyphen parallel hyphen processes equal to 4. So like this we'll be using different commands. And also for recreation of databases php artisan test hyphen parallel hyphen recreate hyphen databases command. So like this we'll be using different commands, and we can use parallel testing facade, which is used to be executed on the setup and teardown of a process or test case. And next we have php artisan test hyphen coverage, and the php artisan test hyphen coverage hyphen min equal to 80.3. So the basic enforcing minimum coverage threshold we can provide. And next profiling tests, so php artisan test hyphen profile command. So in order to get the last slowest tests information. Like this we are having different commands in testing concept in Laravel. This is all about testing concept in Laravel. Thank you so much. This is Universal Horse Star. Thanks to all of my fans, supporters and followers, and a special thanks to all of my YouTube subscribers. Thank you so much.